It's Daybreak on Arise News. Time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. Let's start with this day. Its leading federal government replies. Governor El-Rufai says Buhari focused on delivering free, fair polls, declares no villa staff working for or against any of the presidential candidates. Buhari charges Murphy to grow federal government's assets from 10 trillion naira to 100 trillion naira by 2033. Atiku attacks Tinubu over exchange rate, says he's a hypocrite.
All right, let's look at the Punch newspaper. The cash crunch matter. Sokoto, it titles it Nina scarcity. Sokoto, Zamfara, Katsina border residents trade in CFA. Customers without Naira notes must pay in CFA, traders insist. Banking halls empty. LCCI says Naira swap poll affecting businesses. ICPC arrest currency hawker. Angry youths protest in Ekiti Delta. Sabotage. Tinubu campaigners back El-Rufai. Minister Defense Buhari. And then just on the top mast there, it says presidential candidate. Wike frustrated, lacks integrity, says PCC. No favorite candidate, says U.S. envoy. Credit rating. Moody's downgrades 9 Nigerian banks. Amosu Abiodun clash over performance. Abandoned projects. Anambra gunmen killed teenager. Burn 1,240 INEC vehicles. Obi Kwankwaso one step down for Atiku.
This is the Tribune. Presidency APC reactors. Governor El-Rufai accuses some people inside the villa of working against the APC presidential candidate Tinubu. Akeredolu tells the federal government to let every state determine salaries and allowances of its officials. Gunmen burn INEC office, police station and residential building in Anambra State. Review Naira circulation strategy to alleviate hardship. Atiku's urging the Central Bank of Nigeria. Rivers government cancels approval to PDP presidential candidate campaign council for use of stadium. And tales of woes as Nigerians lament shortage of Naira notes.
All right, on the Sun, the Daily Sun, it says Governor El-Rufai's allegation of sabotage sparks fear in APC. With a rider, party leaders express apprehension as presidency denies working against any candidate. Atiku, just below the last picture there, Atiku blasts Tinubu over government policies as Wike withdraws campaign venue approval. Then just at the top mast, court okays Kano's request to access doctors and medical records. He was not poisoned, well taken care of. DSS is saying that. Atiku's government will consider Southeast for topmost positions. Okonkwo.
Well, let's move over now to the international papers. And this one here says the Financial Times. Adani calls off $2.4 billion share sale after price slumps further, and Fed announces quarter-point rate rise in return to slower pace of tightening.
You have to go on.
Okay, let's move on to other papers. Let's see. The Guardian says a watchdog looks into £220,000 bill for Johnson Partygate legal advice. Over now to the I paper. Liz Truss comeback ignites fears of new Tory civil war. And finally, the Daily Telegraph. RAP faces crisis over drive for diversity.
Yeah, good. Okay, that's the end of the... All right, let's start with this day newspaper. By the way, Emmanuel, glad to have you join us on this Thursday morning.
It's nice to be here. It's
not
easy.
All right. Some interesting stories. FD replies, El-Rufai says Buhari focused on delivering free, fair polls. One or two riders there declares no villa staff working for or against any of the presidential candidates, gets Aisha Buhari's backing. That's Kaduna governor alleges some elements in Villa sabotage in Tinubu APC. It gets Aisha Buhari's backing. El-Rufai encounters Emefiele, or rather exonerates Emefiele from Naira redesign blame. And then let's look at some other stories. The Atiku attacks Tinubu over exchange rate, says he's a hypocrite. And then, of course, on the top mast, we see Buhari charging the Murphy to grow FG's assets from 10 trillion to 100 trillion by 2033 as a long-term plan. All right, so you can take your peek there. What do you think about those stories?
2033, we'll still be
2033 here.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed, these are very interesting stories. But it's really striking that we're having the kind of that headline, and it looks like it is what it is, a direct rebuke, from the presidency. A lot of people will say that it tells you that there's a whole lot of disconnect in government, because I mean we're not used to seeing this sort of thing where top officials of the same regime after each other in this matter. And it started with the parties, the APC's candidate who started the trend of practically in veiled kind of attacks referring to certain people, and it doesn't mention names, so you are left to just wonder who he's talking about. So in the past, the presidency would normally keep quiet, but I think the latest attack from the APC candidate, and then of course re-echoed by the governor of Kaduna State, was too punchy, and you couldn't have left that without reply. I just knew that the presidency was going to this time around speak out, because I mean El-Rufai, whether you like it or not, they were talking about top leaders of a party coming out to say that they believe so strongly that there's someone in the villa who is trying to truncate or try to stop the ambition of their party, their candidate. That's a very strong charge.
And the president's wife?
Yes, sharing that. I don't know whether sharing it is her own way of supporting what El-Rufai is saying, or she just wants to actually give it a backing. Some people say it's an endorsement of what El-Rufai says, but it's there in her Instagram page and she shared it. She's also a leader of the campaign, sort of, because she's in charge of the women wing of the campaign. So yes, if El-Rufai is worried that someone in the villa is trying to stop their presidential candidate, she should be worried about that too. So a lot of Nigerians are really, the reaction is diverse. Some are happy with the development, of course. Some are surprised. But if you look at the big picture of it, it's not very normal that you have, because we still have a government in place. The fact that that government is not cohesive right now, and that they're at each other's throats clearly, it's not good for the rest of us, because you still have policy, you still have decisions to make, and very clearly this is a government that is on a meltdown, so to say. So Live Moment coming out so strongly and saying that there's no one in the villa who is against Tinubu, and that he should desist from that. It's as direct as it can get, and it can only tell you one thing, that there's already a division and there's a crack in the rank.
Well, Emmanuel, we're still reeling from the effects of the redesigned Naira notes. I guess this is where one of the things the APC presidential candidates voiced out about cash still not available as it's supposed to be in the ATMs, and one still cannot get cash when you walk into the bank.
And a new dimension to all of that is what Punch is reporting in its front page. The fact that the border communities are beginning to trade in foreign currencies, practically trading in other people's other countries' money, the CFA. That's the monies that you find in this francophone countries. That's their currency, and that they have access to that and they're using it. All that has implication for even security, for border security, and of course for even the territorial integrity of our country. So I don't think CBN was thinking about this when it was making drawing out this policy. They didn't, even by the farthest stretch of the imagination, imagine that border communities will now be using foreign currency, the kind of money is using in Chad or Cameroon or Niger, and to trade. But so it's strange if your citizens have access to foreign monies. I think that's a very, very serious story on the front page of the Punch newspaper, one that should send those alarms that something serious. So, but back home here, of course, we're all experiencing what's going on. The banks are empty. Almost as if it's, yesterday I was asking myself, is this the end of banking as we know it? Are the monies even in the banks currently safe as it is? People are wondering what's going on, and a lot of people are, grappling with the hardship that this has introduced. Like someone was saying earlier today on the network that she had to save her money and spend less, or even actually don't spend at all. All sort of things. People thinking of all sort of system on what to do. Some not spending at all. Some just. I don't know if if we have actually reached the point of trade by barter, where people will actually give out something else.
Ken said yesterday there was a woman in the bank who had to go naked to.
I think that went viral
get
because
her money.
She needed money
and she couldn't get her money, and that
strange.
Was quite.
You
annoying.
begin to wonder what's
happening.
Is somebody trying to put us into. Well,
let's look at still at the Punch. Two stories there, or well, even three. The question of Obi Kwankwaso not stepping down for Atiku. This is coming from the parties, and then Wike frustrated, lacks integrity, says PCC. Anambra gunmen killed teenager, burned 1,240 materials of INEC.
Well, it's sad because we are still getting those stories of attack on INEC. I mean, INEC facilities, and of course, Professor Mahmoud, the INEC boss, has said that this will not stop the election, will not even slow it down or anything. That we're going to still have the election as and when due, and there's no shifting of dates and all that. But when you keep getting these stories of this attack, you wonder if people are really prepared for this, especially in the southeast, where those 11 million votes are very important. And it seems to be one place where this sort of stories are coming out, and you begin to wonder the implication that we have for some of the campaigns, certainly that of the Peter Obi campaign. And of course, Atiku is getting the heat from these other two camps, Kwankwaso and Obigan, that look, we're not stepping down for you. I think there was a story that they were in talks, and now this is a pushback by those two campaigns that look, we may appear weak, or we may not seem to have a very clear path to the presidency, but we're not stepping down. We want to go into this race. That's a clear cut to Atiku that he should back off, and that they are not going to step down for him. The other story around Wike is very interesting because Wike is now talking as if he's a victim here. People are saying that, look, General came and it's gone now. We didn't hear anything from you. And he's saying that, look, hey, I didn't say I was going to announce my candidate. I didn't say I was going to do it in the open. A lot of people think that that is cowardly. Some people think that it's flip-flopping. It's inconsistent. But of course, consistent with the sort of thing that people say about him, that he talks, he doesn't walk the talk, and that he says the things he wants to say. The fire seems to be, or the pushback now is on him, and he's on the defensive. Rather than the offense that he was doing. This is not the Wike who saw dancing, gyrating, singing, and punching the air and punching his chest. This one that seemed to be retreating, seemed to be complaining, even saying that his life is in danger. We're not used to this kind of Wike. I think we have gotten used to the Wike that is more, the braggadocio Wike, the one that is so vociferous, who talks loud and all of that. His voice seemed to have simmered down, seemed to, maybe like a general in retreat.
Change is the only thing permanent.
All the action have gone into threats. Emmanuel, briefly, in Taraba, well, for the Taraba gubernatorial election, the Supreme Court has nullified the candidacy of Senator Boacha.
Well, yeah, it's actually it was a long journey. It started with when the Federal High Court, sitting in Jalingo, actually said, said those elections, the primaries didn't hold, and certain leaders of the party have gone to court to say that there were no primaries. So what the Supreme Court did yesterday was just to uphold all that the courts have, the lower courts have said that, look, just go back and do the primaries. And now a new thing altogether is faced. Will they be able to go and do those primaries in the next 14 days? What time do they have? So it has created another legal logjam for the situation, with many people wondering if the primaries, the fresh primaries that Supreme Court is ordering, will be able to happen, considering the fact that there is no time again. So it just tells you how our democracy is faring, that in most cases it's the courts that end up interpreting what or should happen, and this comes at a great cost. Remember that a lot of money has been spent by that party already, and unfortunately it has come to this end. For the supporters of the APC in the state, this will be a very harsh lessons that they have to learn because of the fact that those primaries did not happen.
All right, we'll leave it there. Emmanuel Bello, thank you so much. That's the press preview. Let's hear your view on all the burning issues. Follow us on Twitter at Arise TV. You can join today's conversation using the hashtag AriseDay.